this is Sunanda and welcome to my channel. In today's class, we will study a short story written by R.K.Narayan. The name of the short story is A Horse and Two Goats. It is in the ICSE syllabus for class 9. So let's begin. As usual, we will start with the author. That is, we will know some facts about the author. R.K.Narayan was born on 10th October 1906 and he died on 13th May 2001. He was an Indian writer known for his work based on fictional South Indian town named Malgudi. We have all heard of Malgudi, isn't it? Malgudi Days, one of famous series which was telecast in Doordarshan. He was one of the leading authors of early literature in English. So he was among those authors who were famous in writing literature in English. Okay. Beside him, his contemporaries were Mulk Raj Anand. Okay. Narayan typically portrays the peculiarities of human relationships and ironies of Indian daily life, in which modern urban existence clashes with ancient tradition. So in most of his creation, you will see that he has portrayed beautifully the peculiarities of human relationship and also has showcased the clashes that occurs between the modern urban existence and the traditional existence. Okay. His style is graceful, marked by humor, elegance and simplicity. Okay. Swami and Friends, The English Teacher, The Bachelor of Arts are some of his remarkable works. He was awarded the Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan for his contribution in literature. Now let's move on to the theme of the story. The story gives us the message that what happens when two people from different culture meets. The theme of education is noticeable here. So this particular story is going to give us a message, and a very important message. What is that? That what happens when people from two different backgrounds meet? What happens? Okay. The theme of education is noticeable here. So you will get a hint of the fact of the lack of education in people which affects their life. It can be noticed in this particular story. In order to express it, the author has presented two persons from two unlike social and national spheres. So in order to depict this condition, what condition? That what happens when two people from two different genres, they meet together, what happens? To showcase this, he has used two different characters who belonged to two different social and national spheres. Okay. The American man is well educated and leads a life full of luxury. On the other hand, Muni represents a deprived Tamil villager from India who has no education due to his inferior caste. So the two people who are involved in this story is, one is the American man and the other is Muni. Now see the social difference between these two people. The American man is rich, well educated and lives a life full of luxury, whereas Muni is a poor Tamil villager who is deprived of education because of his inferior caste. So there is a huge difference between their social and national sphere and also their educational level. Okay. The gap between these two classes or the culture clash is the main theme of the story. So this is the main theme of the story. What? That the clash between two classes, one rich, one poor, one educated, one uneducated. Okay. And the cultural clash. This is the main theme of this short story. Okay. Now let's move on to the plot of the story. The short story A Horse and Two Goats by R.K. Narayan is set in a fictional village named Kritan, where the protagonist of the story, Muni, resides. So, who is the protagonist of the story? Muni. He was a poor Tamil villager and he used to live in a village named Kritam, and it was a fictional village, means a village which had no real existence. It was created by the author. Okay, that is why it is said it is a fictional village named Kritam, where the protagonist, that is the leading character of the story, Muni, used to live. Once upon a time, Muni owned a herd of 40 sheep and goats. So there was a time, once upon a time means long ago, Muni, the protagonist, he owned a herd of 40 sheep. So he had 40 sheep and goats. Okay, but now it is reduced just to 2 goats. So once he possessed so many goats, now he is left with only 2 goats. On the day of the event, what is the event? The event that is going to happen. The event that is the story is all about. that event which has been showcased in the story. On that particular day when this event occurs, what is the event we will know gradually as we go study the chapter. We will gradually know what is the event. So it is said in this line that on the day of the event, means on that particular day when this event is going to happen, on that day what Muni did, Muni had his usual breakfast. So just like the other day, he had his usual breakfast, and then what he did, then he shook down some drumsticks from the tree in front of his house. So this was his regular routine. He ate his breakfast and then he shook down some of the drumsticks that was hanging from the tree nearby his house. He shook them down. Okay. When Muni expressed his desire to have drumstick sauce, his wife asked him to bring groceries for that. So obviously, as we already know, that Muni was a poor Tamil villager. So obviously he lacked money. Now when he showed his desire, he told his wife that he wanted to have drumstick sauce. So what his wife said, she said that you first go and collect some groceries, because only if you bring groceries, I can cook you drumstick sauce. He made all efforts to get groceries on credit from a village shop, but failed. Means, as we already know that he was poor, he did not have money to buy groceries. So he had to borrow from the village shop the groceries. But this time the village shop owner, he denied to give him the groceries. That is why it is said that he failed to bring back grocery from the village shop, because the shopkeeper did not give him on credit. He was further humiliated by his wife after he returned home empty-handed. Obviously, when he returned home empty-handed, his wife humiliated him even more. Thereafter, he took his goats to graze to a place in the outskirts of the village beside the highway. So after this thing happened, after the humiliation he faced from his wife, he went away with his 2 goats. For what? For them to graze. And where did he take them to? To the outskirts of the village beside the highway. Okay, so he went beside the highway where there was a huge meadow, and there he took his goats so that they could graze. Okay. Muni was sitting under a clay horse statue where he usually sat to protect himself from the sun. So obviously he took his goats to graze in that meadow, and while they were doing so, what he did, he as usual, means like any other day, he sat under a clay horse statue which was placed there. And why he sat there? Because to protect himself from the scorching sun. Okay. Suddenly he saw a yellow wagon stopping in front of the statue. So while he was sitting under the statue and his goats were grazing, suddenly he saw that a yellow wagon was coming, and it stopped in front of the statue where he was sitting. A red-faced American dressed in khaki got out and inquired about the nearest gas station. So this American who was dressed in khaki, he stepped out of the yellow wagon and he asked Muni, who was sitting there, that where is the nearest gas station? Maybe he needed gas, okay, for his vehicle. The American noticed the horse statue and was fascinated by it. So the actual reason why the American stopped was to ask for the nearest gas station from Muni. But while he was doing so, he caught the view of the horse statue which was kept there, and it fascinated him. Okay. He started conversation with Muni, and it was very funny since none understood each other. So because this American was fascinated with the horse statue which was kept there and under which Muni was sitting, he decided that he would start talking with this man, this Muni, so that he can get some information and he could actually buy that statue from him. Okay, because he misunderstood Muni to be the owner of the statue. And this fact we will gradually know as we read through the story. So what he did, he started conversation with Muni, and it was funny. Why it was funny? Because none of them understood each other. We all know that the American could not speak anything except English, and we also knew that Muni was an uneducated man, so he could speak nothing except Tamil. So both of them spoke in their own language, and that is why the other person could not understand them. Okay. So Muni was speaking in Tamil while American in English. So they were speaking in 2 languages which the other did not understood. Muni initially thought he was a police. thus tried to defend himself by saying he wasn't involved in any crime. So as we know that the American was dressed in khaki, and we all know that police, they are dressed in khaki. So obviously Mooney, who was illiterate, he thought because this man is wearing khaki, he may be a police, and that is why he said that he is not a criminal, he hasn't committed any crime. Okay, he panicked seeing him, and he said, no, I have not done anything. He defended himself by saying that he wasn't involved in any sort of crimes. Gradually, Mooney realized that the American was friendly. Thus, he started narrating his story. But gradually, he understood that this man was not a police, and he was actually been friendly with him, because if you read the chapter, you will see that the American offered him cigarette. So now he understood that maybe this man was not has not come to arrest him or do something. He is friendly, and that is why he started narrating his story. What he said? How cheetahs and jackals carried their cattle off. So he said that how the cheetahs and jackals in the village, they used to carry off their cattle. Okay. He also told him that he never went to school, as in those days only Brahmins went to school. So he also said, see over here the author is portraying or showing us the social norms, the social evils that existed, that only the Brahmins could study and no other caste could study, and that is why Mooney, who belonged to an inferior class, could not study that, and that is the real reason that he was illiterate, that during his time only the Brahmins were allowed to school. So here you see the author has pointed out the social injustice or social evil that existed during that time. Okay. He also narrated how temple priest could see the face of thief in the camphor flame. So he also narrated that how the priest of his village could actually detect the name of the face of the thief in the fire of camphor. Okay. And how at the end of Kali Yuga the world will be destroyed and the clay horse will come to life and save all. So what he said, that when the Kali Yuga will end, the world will be destroyed. And who will come to save them? The clay horse. The clay horse under which he was sitting, it will come to life and it will save them from this disaster. So this villager had this belief, or the village where he stayed had this belief that this clay horse which was kept there would turn into a lively being and will save all them when the Kali Yuga will end and the world will be destroyed. So this is all the thing that Mooney narrated to the American. Okay, and obviously we all know, because the American could not understand Tamil, he will not understand anything that Mooney has told him, right? The American also had his share of story which he told Mooney. Now the American also did the same. He also told his stories to Mooney. He was a businessman dealing in coffee. So who was he? He was a businessman who used to deal in coffee. Thinking Mooney to be the owner of the horse statue, the American offered 100 rupee note to buy it. Now see, the American was speaking in English, Mooney was speaking in Tamil. Both did not understood each other. Mooney narrated the story of his villages and everything and about himself, and American told about himself. But neither of the two understood what they told to each other. Okay. Now what the American thought? The American thought Mooney was the owner of this clay horse statue which was kept there, and that is why he offered him 100 rupees to buy it. Realizing that some financial element has entered the talk, Mooney thought the man wanted to buy his 2 goats. So obviously there was a miscommunication going on between the two, as they did not understood each other, and that is why they misunderstood each other. The American thought he was the owner of the statue, and Mooney thought that maybe he was giving him money to buy his 2 goats. Okay. In fact, he had always dreamt of selling his goats at a good price and setting up a shop. And this Mooney, why he thought suddenly that maybe the man was trying to buy his goats? Because in his mind, he always have dreamt that he would one day sell his 2 goats, and with the money that he gets, he will set up a shop. Okay, so he was very happy with this that the American has offered him 100 rupees to buy his 2 goats, which was actually wrong, isn't it? The American was intending to buy the horse because he thought Mooney was the owner of the horse, and that is why he offered him 100 rupees. But Mooney misunderstood the whole thing and thought maybe he was trying to buy his 2 goats. Muni was happy that he sold his goats for rupees 100, and the American was happy that he bought the horse statue. Now both were happy in their own way. The American thought that he gave the money and bought the horse, that is why he was happy. Muni was happy, why? Because he thought he sold his 2 goats and in return he has got a lump sum amount which he needed, because we all know he was a poor man and he needed money. So he was very happy that he has got so much money in return of his goat. Muni went home to show the money to his wife, who could not believe he had sold the goats for such heavy amount. Now obviously we have already seen that the wife of Muni was she was a person who always complained. He humiliated Muni. Now this time when Muni was happy and he went back home with such a lump sum amount of money and showed it to his wife, the obvious reaction of his wife was that she could not believe it. She thought that Muni must have stolen it from somebody, because she could not believe that he could get so much money by selling just 2 goats. Okay, the 100 rupees was too much for them, and she could not believe that Muni had actually sold the 2 goats to get such a heavy amount, and that is why she accused Muni of stealing, and her doubt grew stronger when the 2 goats returned. So what happened at the end of the story? Now as it is, the wife was doubting the honesty of Muni, that maybe Muni has stolen the money from somebody, because she could not believe that by selling 2 goats he could get such a heavy amount. And on top of that, her doubt grew stronger when the 2 goats that Muni claimed to have sold to the American had returned back. So this was a shock for Muni, because he thought he has sold his 2 goats and in return he has got 100 rupees, and he told the same to the wife, but his wife was doubtful about it, and her doubt grew stronger when she saw that the 2 goats had returned. Okay, so I hope you have understood this story. It's a very beautiful story with a very beautiful message given by the author. Okay, the author has portrayed here that how social evil existed during that time, and how the inferior caste people were deprived of education, and that is why they lagged behind, and the communication between the 2 people from 2 different stratas of the society led to miscommunication. Both Muni and the American have belonged to 2 different culture, and their culture clashed. They misunderstood the communication that happened between them were misunderstood by both of them, and which led to a funny incident. The Muni thought that the American was buying his goats and in return he was giving him 100 rupees, and the American thought Muni was the owner of the horse statue and he bought the horse statue from him by giving him 100 rupees. So this was a miscommunication between the 2. And why this miscommunication happened? Because they both belonged to 2 different classes of the society. The American was rich, well-established, educated man who led a luxurious life, whereas Muni was a poor Tamil villager who lacked education and was very poor to lead a happy life. So because of this cultural clash, because of this class clash, they led to a miscommunication between the 2. So I hope you have understood this chapter. In case you have any doubt, do let me know in the comment section. Till then, bye bye and keep watching, and please don't forget to share, subscribe and like my channel. Thank you.